Artlist.io.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Sustainachella and happy Friday. Woo! We made it. And the panelists, you guys can remove yourselves from mute right now. You guys can celebrate with me. It's Friday. We all made it. Woo! We're still at home, but we made it. It's Friday, and tomorrow is Saturday, and hopefully tomorrow we can go out. So, guys, today we have a pretty packed Sustainachella. So I'm going to start right over. Just wanted to thank everyone for joining. I still see more folks coming in, so we are going to start warming up our chat with Yanni, our amazing, what is her title again? It gets so long every time. Senior Sustainability Coordinator. Here you go, Yanni Pineda, it's all yours.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I apologize for any background noise you may hear. Hopefully it doesn't interrupt you guys being able to hear me. So we're gonna start off the presentation by going over some rules quickly. I'll go over them once we get more people on board, but just so you guys know, you probably noticed that your videos and your audio your microphones are disabled. And that only the panelists can be seen. That's completely on purpose. We just want to make sure that there isn't any funny business happening in the middle of the webinar. And if you guys want to ask questions, there's a Q&A box in the middle of your Zoom window that you can submit questions through to make sure that they're not lost in the chat. And if you want to share any comments with the group, I recommend choosing all panelists and attendees within your chat box so that everyone can hear, everyone can read what your comments are, and we can all have a nice chat going. So we're going to get started by having a little fun with some terribly funny bird puns. So I'm hoping you guys can answer a couple of them for me as I ask them. There's 3 of them, and then we'll jump into the presentation. All right, so the first one is, what do you call a bird that kicks your butt? Can anyone guess? Doesn't seem like a lot of people are sure. Okay, so.
Come on, guys. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. A really big bird.
Okay, so the next one. What do you call a sick eagle? Oh, Harper's asking what the, so eagle. Harper, the answer is on the PowerPoint. Can you see it?
Oh, Caitlin got it.
Right.
We have a winner here.
Okay, last one. How many cans does it take to make a bird? No.
How many cans, guys? Oh, here we go. Michelle, yeah, a lot of folks. Here you go. You guys got it. Awesome.
Good job, guys. Okay, so again, I'm going to lay out the ground rules. Like I said, please put all your questions into the Q&A box. Share all your comments with everybody. We really want, the chat to be lively, and we want to know what you guys are thinking. And I think it's great when you guys are able to communicate with each other as well. So take advantage of it. And again, your videos are disabled, and so are your microphones. And as a reminder for those of you who are just joining us, oh, my presentation is pixelated, apparently. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and go and actually. And do it again.
It's okay, Yanni. You can move this slide, and then next slide, when I introduce everyone, you can walk in.
Okay. Can you still see it, or is it still pixelated?
Yeah. No, we can see it. It's just a little bit difficult to read it.
Okay. All right, so let me just get through this one, and then I'll turn it over to you, Flavia. So we have presentations every single week. If this is your first one, thank you for joining us. We have another one next week on May 20th. We're covering underwater worlds, coral reefs, so please join us for that one. It'll also have its registration link, so check out our webpage. And then I'll turn it over to Flavia so she can introduce all of our partners.
All right, guys. So today, like I mentioned, it's pretty packed, the agenda. And here, I can start actually. Let me see, sharing my screen so you can see all the folks, all the panelists. And we have, I'll start with Sarah with the Pelican Harbor. Woo, hi Sarah. You're on mute, but just say hi. That's all good. We have Laura with Maui Forest Bird Recovery Project.
Wow.
We have Callie from Kauai Forest Bird Recovery Project. And hi, Callie. We have Helen with Pacific Birds.
Hi, everyone.
All right. And we have Jay with Maui Nui Seabird Recovery. Okay. We have Makalea with County of Maui. I don't know if Makalea already joined us. We have Nikki from County of Kauai.
Aloha.
Thanks for joining. And we have Carrie with Sunrise.
Hi, everybody. Hi from Sunrise.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. And Miami Beach, please welcome all those great communities joining us today, Maui, Kauai, and Sunrise. So excited to have them on board. All right, so we are going to start right now with Sarah. Sarah is going to give us a really cool tour of the Pelican Harbor. And Yanni, you are the host here, so I need you to highlight her video. Uh-oh, did we lose Yanni? Let me try. And you know what, Sarah, maybe if you just start speaking and
Hey guys,
here we go. You're on it.
welcome to Pelican Harbor Seabird Station. We're outside in the pen area. Have this nice mural behind us. So for you guys who don't know us, we're Miami's oldest native wildlife hospital, and we celebrated our 40th anniversary this past year. So we've been treating native wildlife here in South Florida for 40 years and started with just pelicans, and that's who you might hear. We have some pelicans nesting on top of our permanent pelican enclosure, which is pretty interesting. They're usually out on a key nearby, but we've had about 10 nests up there. But we not only treat pelicans now, we treat over 100 different native species. We're so lucky here in South Florida to have a huge diversity of ecosystems, from the Everglades to the beaches. And so we have all these amazing birds that live here, but also we're on a migration route. So we have a lot of visiting birds that come through South Florida as well. So because of that, we have a lot of human wildlife interactions, and we get patients in every single day of the year. So we average about 2,000 patients a year, but just so far this year, I don't know if you can see that, we've had 839 patients and 76 different species. So we are having a busy year. It's currently baby bird season right now, so we're gonna go see some baby birds here in a minute. And I also have a possum on my lap. So we treat about 80% birds and then about 20% mammals, mainly possums and squirrels. But we were started by a couple who lived out on a houseboat in Biscayne Bay, and they started to see all these birds with pelicans with hook and line injuries, and there was no one at the time to treat those birds. So they started Pelican Harbor basically with a tool shed. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a picture, or this is an x-ray of some hooks that were in the belly of a pelican. And actually, we were gonna wait till a little later, but we might follow Doug into the clinic right now because he has a common loon, one of two that we have in care right now, and it's a pretty cool bird. So Doug has been with us for about 4 years. So maybe we can go inside and see what's going on with this loon.
Okay.
And we're wearing masks inside, so hopefully you can still understand us, but we are being careful during this time because we're all close to each other in the clinic. And we also have Yuritsa. Yuritsa's been with us for 8 years, so she knows a ton about South Florida wildlife.
How about that? No pressure.
And so I think we're going to be feeding him, yeah?
Yeah. They're difficult eaters, and they used to haven't really been eating on their own. Today we tried some live shrimp and live fish, with some mild success, and hopefully we'll post some of that footage of them going after the live shrimp sometime this week. But they are kind of a first for us. They're not really a species we commonly deal with.
Can you talk a little louder?
Yeah. In 8 years, we haven't released one yet. So we're very hopeful. But because of their sort of unique physical setup, there are a lot of challenges. They're not really meant to be on land. Their legs are more to the side of them, so that puts a lot of pressure on their chests or their keels. So we have to accommodate them, and right now a big issue is that their waterproofing isn't very good, so it's just going to be a long process for us, but we're really excited to have them with us.
So someone's asking us, how did it end up in Miami? And they migrate down here during the winter, so.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it's not really something we see. They just sort of migrate north and south of us. We don't really get them. So these guys probably just got knocked off of their migration pattern, and we're actually pretty late as far as time-wise when they got to us. So we're not exactly sure why they got here or how, but they're here now.
So we might grab some baby birds to do a feeding. We have some interesting blue jays, and we're going to talk about how we think that they have some neurological issues. And I'm also going to go grab Mowgli, our eastern screech owl, while we get the babies out for us. So this is Mowgli, and she came to us about 4 years ago. I'm actually gonna bring you in the other room so I can talk a little better, but she is not a baby. She's the smallest species of owl we have here in Florida, and it's actually really common in Miami. So if you know what to look for and what to listen for, you might be able to find one. So you can see her chest. She's got really beautiful bark pattern. And so they're cavity dwellers. They like to find trees that have holes in them. And then they have a very distinct call. It's kind of like a trill or a horse neighing. So once there's a great app, the Audubon app, if you download it, you can search for all your favorite bird calls. And once you know what to listen for and what to look for, you can probably find one around Miami. And you can see here her wing is drooping, so she came up to us with a broken wing, and we're a wildlife rehab facility, so our goal is to get these animals back out into the wild, but unfortunately her wing didn't heal properly, and so she is an ambassador animal and is able to do education events with us. So I'm gonna keep things moving because we have so many amazing people to talk to, and just go see real quick the baby birds and then pass it over to Hawaii. Ooh.
And we want to see Basil, so don't forget about Basil, Sarah.
Okay, I'll show you guys Basil.
Her hostage there.
Basil's actually in her cuddle pouch. She likes to cuddle, even though we're here to talk about birds. This is our awesome possum. And this is the only marsupial we have here in North America. So we often get possums that are hit by cars that they still have the babies in the pouch. What? Yeah, and we're actually, the baby birds are coming right up. But yeah, she is one of our 2 ambassador opossums, and they eat ticks and they don't carry rabies. So that's why we are rebranding them to be awesome possums. So don't be scared of them. If you see them in your yard and they look a little scary, that's because they're more scared of you. And we want to talk a little bit about pesticides right now because we think this blue jay may have been affected by that.
Yes, so we suspect neurological issues because of rodenticide and insecticide usage in the area. So when we first got this blue jay, and he had a sibling which unfortunately passed away this morning, they were displaying really severe signs of very severe neurological signs. So they weren't able to control their heads. They were shaking. They really couldn't control themselves. And this guy's a lot better today, but he still really isn't displaying normal behavior. And he's kind of sitting weird and things like that. And then yesterday we were actually able to find out that the pesticides and rodenticides were used in the area. So it's possible that the mother, fed these two babies poisoned insects while they were developing, and they unfortunately had really bad reactions and side effects. But this guy is doing a lot better than he was yesterday, and so we're hopeful that he can make a recovery, but he is on a lot of supportive care. He's on some antibiotics that are hopefully going to be able to cross that blood-brain barrier and improve those neurological symptoms.
And he is one of 76 patients that we have right now. So we've taken a lot of time, and we're happy to answer questions at the end, but we're going to pass the baton. So thanks, guys. And when we're reopened, we'll tell you on Facebook, and hopefully you can come visit us. So thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. This was amazing. We love it. I want to keep going. You guys have so many amazing animals there. Awesome. So many amazing birds. And now we're going to Laura. Laura, sorry, Laura. And you can start. Yeah, here you go. You got it. You're fast, man. You're mute, though. Let me unmute you. Yeah, you have to unmute yourself because you're a panelist. Or Yenny, if you can help with that, unmuting her.
Yeah, she has to
You
unmute
got
herself.
it.
All right. You guys can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So aloha from Maui, Hawaii. I'm going to talk to you today about some of our native forest birds that are found here. And I work for an organization called Maui Forest Bird Recovery Project, and we're working to recover endangered forest bird species and restore their native forest habitat. So the group of birds that we work with are called the Hawaiian Honeycreepers. These birds are found nowhere else in the world and evolved from one ancestral finch species that found its way to our island chain over 5 million years ago. From one species, there became over 50 unique Hawaiian honeycreepers. And in this chart here, you can see some of the unique Hawaiian honeycreepers that we have in their bills that allow them to feed on different food resources and play an important role in the ecosystem here. So we have 6 native birds here on Maui, and we're gonna check them out right now. Hopefully the visual, actually, I forgot to enhance my video. Sorry about that. How come I'm not able to share? Okay. So most of our native birds are found way up high on the mountain, so I actually can't go and video them like Sarah can do, but the kiwi we just saw there is the most endangered forest bird on Maui, and recent estimates actually say there are fewer than 200 of them left. Hawaii is known for having many extinct or endangered species. There are less than a third of the Hawaiian honeycreeper species left on the islands. And these birds face a variety of threats, including habitat loss or degradation due to introduced species like invasive plants or insects, feral ungulates, introduced predators like cats, rats, and mongooses, and even introduced mosquitoes that spread diseases that our birds have little to no resistance to. And of course, climate change is kind of disturbing everything under the sun, right? But one of the management options that we can do is plant native trees for these birds and create more habitat for them. And so that's what we've been doing over the past several years, is planting native trees up at 5,000 to 6,000 feet in elevation, high up on Haleakala Mountain on East Maui. And we're trying to create reconnect remnant forest patches to create more contiguous habitat. And so last week we were able to finally get up into the fields, into this site. It's so remote, we usually use helicopters to get up there, but because of social distancing, we can't use the helicopter. So we had to hike over 5 hours, about 5,000 feet in elevation. And over the week, we were able to do annual point counts, which allow us to estimate the different species populations that are up there and see how they're responding to the habitat restoration that we're doing. So we are at a station for 8 minutes. We use binoculars, rangefinders to detect all the birds that we see and hear and how far they are away from us. And you can see there's a variety of habitats that we're going through. There's these erosion scars that have been created because of all the ungulates that used to be up there and all the erosion over time. But hopefully over time, because of the restoration, we'll see more plants and understory species. So that's it in part of my presentation at Maui Forest Bird Recovery Project. As I mentioned, we're helping to protect our native birds here by restoring native habitat, which can be done even in your own backyard by planting native trees. Birds also are threatened by cats, so make sure that your cats aren't getting out and killing native birds. Learn more about different native species in your area. Like Sarah said, there's the Audubon Society, and they have lots of resources for people. And let us know if you have any questions about Maui's native forest birds.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura. Awesome presentation. All right, and now we are going to Kali. And Kali, if you want to start sharing your presentation, that would be great.
I got to remember to do the optimizing. All right, looks like we're good to go.
Awesome.
Hi, everybody. So can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
All right, good. I work for Laura's sister project on Kauai. So we work on many of the same birds, but I'm just going to take you from Maui, where Laura works, all the way up to the oldest of the main Hawaiian islands, Kauai. Kauai is a smaller island than Maui, and it also has much lower elevation. The highest point on Kauai is about 5,000 feet, whereas I think Maui goes up to close to 10,000 feet. And this is really, really important in understanding how the threats play out for the birds. We believe that all those beautiful birds that Laura was showing started evolving in the Hawaiian Islands when Kauai first came up out of the ocean as a volcano. So sort of the father island of all of these processes. Here on Kauai, the birds are now restricted to that yellow high elevation area in the middle of the island on an area that we call the Alakai Plateau or the Alakai Swamp. It's relatively flat from one side to the other, and it goes from about 3,500 feet to 4,000 feet. And though once upon a time the birds were found throughout the entire island of Kauai, nowadays the native birds can only be found up there due to the threats that Laura was mentioning, and primarily due to a lot of forest clearing. If you come to the Hawaiian Islands, the vegetation that you see down at the beaches is rarely native vegetation. It is mostly introduced vegetation. So here on Kauai, we are fortunate that almost half of the species that were historically known to explorers are still present. Many of the birds on Kauai are endemic and found only on Kauai. So let me first deal with the two red ones. That's the I'iwi that Laura was showing you and the Apapane. Those two are found throughout the Hawaiian Islands, but the other 6 species that you see on the slide are found in Kauai only and nowhere else in the entire world. So anchoring the 3 corners, the left corner, the top right corner, and the bottom right corner are 3 endangered species that we work on. The akeke'e is the yellow top corner, and then the gray bird on the top right corner is the puaiohi. And puaiohi are the only frugivorous birds living in Kauai. So they eat fruit and they're really important seed dispersers. All of the rest of our birds eat insects. And the other difference about puaiohi compared to the honeycreepers, it's a thrush, and it nests in cavities along cliff walls, not in trees like the other birds do. Down in the bottom right-hand corner is akikiki. Akikiki is another insectivorous honeycreeper. It pecks the bark of looking for grubs like caterpillars. Both puaiohi and akikiki number fewer than 500 birds in the wild, so they're critically endangered, and akeke number 1,000 birds. Going to the left from the akikiki, on the very bottom in the middle is our elapaio, Kauai elapaio. It is also not a honeycreeper, it's a flycatcher. And then in the bottom left-hand corner is the Kauai amakihi. It is the largest of all the amakihis in the Hawaiian Islands with a very stout beak. And then I missed my favorite bird on the right in the middle. That little lemon drop is the anianiao, the smallest bird on Kauai. It weighs only as much as 10 paper clips. So on this right-hand side here, I've starred the birds that are endangered with 2 stars, and I'iwi is listed as threatened with 1 star. So let me just introduce you now to the habitat that they live in. Sorry, let me go back a slide. So I'm gonna try to play a little video for you here. This is that Alakai Plateau that I mentioned. It's a pretty nice day here in the Alakai Plateau. Alakai Plateau is one of the wettest spots on Earth, so usually it's raining. And even though it's flat from side to side, it is riddled by these streams that make it really, really difficult to move through, that drain it into the lower elevations. And it's also got these really steep-sided cliffs that the puaiohi like to nest in. So it's really, really hard to move around the Alakai Plateau. On this particular day, what we're doing is we're setting up mist nets, very fine nets in areas that birds like to travel through so that we can catch them and mark them. So in a minute, you'll see how the bird will not detect that net and get caught in it. So here we have an akikiki caught in the net. And this bird is already marked. It had a little black bracelet on it. So this is a recap. And it's really important when we recapture birds because we can compare their growth trajectories and other metrics about them. So Tyler has just removed the akikiki from the net. He's going to put it in a bird bag, which calms them down so that we can carry it back to our camp where we'll start measuring it. So here we go. This is a much rainier day than that first picture I showed you. So we're going back to camp. And when we get there, you can see that it's a pretty wet place. That tent is only 2 years old, and look at all that mold growing on it. And they're going to take the akikiki out of the bag. They're checking its sex. And now they're looking for fat in the little hollow that it has right in its collarbone, like you and I have. That's where birds store fat. So they're seeing if it has any fat. Now they're going to measure its leg, and there you can see its markings on it, the black band and the aluminum band that help us identify the bird. They're weighing it. And now they're just checking on its molt and its plumage characteristics and the feather wear to see where it is in its molt patterns. Now this here is an elapaio that we took a picture of just to show you how we use these colors of bands to try and identify birds individually. So if you notice, there's no black on that particular bird, whereas on the akikiki we had a black band. And that helps us basically name the birds so that we can identify them when we see them later, and we can track their individual trajectories. And I'll show you another slide in a second illustrating that. So off the bird goes, safe and sound. This whole process takes between 5 and 10 minutes. So now going back to the PowerPoint, I just want to show you this, how this individual naming works. So there's an akikiki here on the left that has black bands and blue bands and yellow bands and aluminum bands, and we read them top to bottom and left to right. So when we put those all together, you get blue over black, yellow over aluminum, and we call this bird Becky because of the combination of those letters. Whereas this bird over here on the right-hand side is Bob because it has black over aluminum and white over blue. And what we'll do is we'll follow these birds around and see how many babies they have and how long they live so we can understand how long-lived they are and how fecund they are. And just one more quick video and then I think
And
my
Kelly, you can maximize your,
yeah. Why don't I do that again? I'll show this video again. Thank you for reminding me. So here's a bird that's banded, she had a black and so white band on her one leg. So now we can track how many babies she has on her after doing how different threats affect these birds. And then one of the
Kelly, we couldn't really hear you, so if you can just tell us what you were trying to say. It's okay, we have time. You don't have to speed up.
So you couldn't hear what I was saying about the little bird coming in to feed her babies? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we could only hear the birds, but not you. Which
Oh,
was,
okay.
was nice
So I forgot that there was audio on that one. So the puayohi, the female puayohi was coming in to feed her two babies in a cavity nest. Remember I said that puayohis like to live in nest in cavities. And because she has bands on her leg, black and orange, we can follow her lifetime reproductive success. We can see how many babies she has each year. We can see how many years she nests and get a sense of how well reproduction is replacing mortality in these populations. Because for any population to grow, you have to have mortality in excess of, less than reproduction. So reproduction in excess of mortality. So that's what we're trying to figure out with these birds, is how to increase their lifespan and their reproductive success. And one of the main threats to that is mosquito-borne diseases. So a long time ago in the 1800s, believe it or not, there were no mosquitoes in the Hawaiian Islands. And they were introduced by whaling ships, and they have proliferated until now just at the lowlands in the Hawaiian Islands, because that mountain areas where the birds were found were too cold for mosquitoes to reproduce. Now, as we all know, mosquitoes carry lots of diseases and to humans, but birds are no exception. They can also carry diseases to the birds. So what's happening now is that because of climate change, the mountain areas are getting warmer and warmer, and mosquitoes are able to expand in range up the mountains, and the birds have less and less room where they don't come into contact with mosquito-borne diseases. So we're observing very dramatic declines in the bird populations due to climate change. So if you want to know what you can do to help the birds really fight climate change on every level, your individual actions and how you vote all help us fight climate change. And as Laura mentioned, you can plant bird-friendly plants. You can support vector control to control mosquito populations. It's really important that you keep your pets indoors or on a leash so that they can't interfere with breeding birds. And just generally in your life everywhere, promote conservation and stay informed. And so if you want to learn more about us, our website is at the bottom, but we're also very active on social media and you can follow us. And that is me. So I will stop sharing and let the next presenter take over.
Thank you so much, Callie. I really appreciate it. And now, Helen, if you want to start sharing your screen, we can start with you. And you're mute, so you can unmute yourself as well.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Helen Rae. I'm also on Kauai. So thanks, Callie, for setting the scene there. I work with different partners down on the lowlands for Pacific Bird Habitat Joint Venture. And we basically work towards protecting some of the wetland areas. So up where Callie was, in the mountains, you saw all that rain, and actually one of the wettest spots on Earth is up there. So I work down on the lowlands where some of that water collects. So I was just going to kick off with a video here.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Kauai Waterbird Sanctuary. We're on the island of Kauai at the top of the archipelago, and we're right over on the west side, pretty much as far west as you can go before you start heading back up into the mountains. So Kauai is on the Mana Plains. This used to be 1,700 acres of wetland habitat, and in Hawaiian times they grew taro here. Kauai is one part of that wetland complex that's been protected, and as you can see, the Division of Forestry and Wildlife have been doing a fantastic job replanting this native vegetation. You probably can't see because it's too small, but we did have a Hawaiian stilt out there earlier, and we're going to take a look around.
So Kauai was a sand mine, and you can see some of the remnants there, but it does attract all of our endemic endangered birds. We've got 4 wetland birds on the island, and they love to hang out in this area. It's open to the public all the time. Oops, let's cancel that. And
this is a tomato. Think it's good for you? Think it.
Okay, let's share this one. Okay, so yes, that's another view of that wetland sanctuary. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an introduction to the wetland birds, because they are really easy to see, even though they're pretty rare. There's only 1,000 of the gallinules in the world, but if you do come to Kauai, once we get over the COVID crisis, you're going to be able to see them pretty easily. And the exciting thing about Hawaii is that all of the wildlife is bound up with these amazing legends. So if I just move you forward, this is our Hawaiian common gallinule, the Ale Ula. And you can see it's got that big red frontal shield. And the Hawaiians, they had a great legend for this bird, that it stole fire from Maui, the god Maui. He's down there in the corner. And it gave fire to the humans because it felt sorry for them. They're a bit cold and miserable without any fire. And Maui got absolutely furious and branded them with that big red frontal shield. So they, handily enough, it also protects them from getting scratched by vegetation, but it was actually a curse from the god Maui. And you can see on the photo at the bottom, they've got those great long toes, so they almost look like they walk on water, and they nest in floating nests as well. So really a very aquatic bird. The Hawaiians also believe they were a portent of death because they're really hard to see, and then they will suddenly let out this eerie call. So yeah, they were a little bit wary of them. They were down to about 60 birds in the 1960s because Hawaiian aquaculture, growing taro, for example, in taro paddies, that was great for these birds. But when we started growing sugarcane and other crops on the islands, that obviously drained the land, and they really reduced. We're now back up to 1,000 birds, like I said, and our partners are working really hard to keep them safe from introduced predators. So Hawaii had no land mammals at all, but we've had now introduced rats and cats, and these birds are very vulnerable to those predators. So our second wetland bird, it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, but it's not quite a mallard. It's a Koloa Maoli, our native Hawaiian duck. It's a full species, and these birds were guides to Imakalini. That's him down there at the bottom right. He was a warrior king, but he was blind. So he was a ninja at throwing spears, but he needed the birds to guide his spears. So the birds would quack, the Koloa would quack when Imakalini was near enemies, and then he could take 5 spears in each hand and throw them all at the same time, and the Koloa guided those spears and made sure that they met their target. So the Koloa Maoli and the Nene are pretty much the only duck and geese species left from a wide range of species that we know from the fossil record. So a bit like the dodo, in Hawaii we had the moanalu, the tortoise-billed duck, and it would go around eating vegetation, but along with most of its cousins, it couldn't fly. So those birds got wiped out pretty quickly. The Koloa Maoli are still good flyers, and actually they'll fly right up to where Kali's forest birds are, and they use the highlands and the lowlands. So they are real survivors. That one of their biggest threats is hybridization though. So people brought domestic ducks here, and unfortunately they can breed with our native ducks, and so they're in danger of being wiped out. But Kauai is still a stronghold. We're working hard on making sure the koloa survive and that the domestic ducks aren't able to breed with them. So you can find out more about Pacific Birds Habitat Joint Venture here, and I will hand over to Jay.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Helen. And Jay, you're on. And then Helen, if you can mute yourself, and we'll.
There we go. Aloha.
Awesome.
So glad to be with you here. I work with the Maui Nui Seabird Recovery Project, and we're a project of the University of Hawaii. And we also have a nonprofit sponsor, Pacific Rim Conservation. And we can't do all this work without support from people like the Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources, the Office of Economic Development of the County of Maui, the Hawaii Tourism Authority. All of these people add all their funding into us to help us bring seabirds back to what they used to be. Seabirds used to be the most numerous birds in animals in all of the Hawaiian Islands. And people changed all the habitat and introduced predators, and the seabird numbers went down. But seabirds contribute an awful lot to what our habitat is. And I have a number of them to share with you here. This is the Kauai kea. That's the white-tailed tropic bird. And you see these long streamers in the tail. These aren't even fully grown. They're molting in to where they will be even longer than that. They do acrobatic flights where they nest over offshore islets and even back into the gulches. One of the things that these birds have the threat for, you see this bird on my shirt, that's called the iwa, or the great frigate bird. And iwa in Hawaiian means thief. That means because they chase birds like the Kauai kea, the white-tailed tropic bird, around until they regurgitate the food that they were going to eat, and then the iwa swoops down. Its wings are 7 feet wide, right? A little over 3 feet on each side. They're big birds, but they're, as you can see, sharp, long, and pointed, and they're really acrobatic in the way they get around. Another species we have here is the uwa'ukani. This is the wedge-tailed shearwater. And she, you can look, I'm going to try and get this right up close. Can you see right up here at her top of her bill? There are 2 pukas. Puka is the Hawaiian word for hole. And that is where right at the base of that, there's a salt gland. That's how these birds get fresh water. They don't have to have fresh water because they get water from the food they eat, the fish and squid. And they can also process the salt from the salt water out. If you have one of these birds in rehabilitation, you cannot feed it fresh water. 1 week of feeding it fresh water and that salt gland would atrophy. That they're adapted to live at sea all of the time and to live with sea water. Another thing you can see well with this, all seabirds have webbed feet. So if you find a bird and it doesn't have webbed feet, you know you don't have a seabird. This bird is another one that dives after its food, like the uwa'ukani or like the Kauai kea, or it can also feed on the surface. So the seabirds came first to the islands, and they're really ecological engineers. They bring marine nutrients that they eat to the land, where the only time they're here is to breed. And it takes both adults to raise a chick. So every time they come, they feed the chick, and what do they leave behind on the ground? And the chick leaves behind on the ground? That's the poo. It's there, and it fertilizes the soil, and it actually runs off, and it encourages growth in the native coral reef systems that are near shore. Out to sea all the time, these birds come to land to breed. And some of them, the one that I will talk about after this video, I'm going to share this video with you. And, oh, did I get ahead of myself here? I did. I want to go back. Uh-oh. Where am I? I lost my Zoom connection. I hope you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. I think you just need to try to share the screen. And if
Right.
you can, don't worry, Jay, we can always do the video for you. But if you want to try, just go to that green button, the share screen, and then
Right,
try
I
to
lost the Zoom screen entirely.
So don't worry, Yeti, do you want to, here, do you want to do it or shall I? Let me try to get,
If you have it readily
Here we
available,
go.
share it.
Can you see it now?
oh,
Is the
No.
video up?
no, it's not, Jay, it's not sharing our screen.
Oh, yeah, I blew it.
That's okay, I will just pull it out. Here we go, I have it on.
Don't forget to click on optimize video, Flavia.
Yeah. And here, yeah, I don't know why it's telling me that I don't have access to the Vimeo. Do you want to try to share his video?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up now. Give me a second.
Thank you. Yeah, Vimeo and Zoom. Here we
Can you
go.
see it?
Yeah, it's sharing our screen. Yep, we can see it. You just need to zoom it out. Yep. Awesome.
Okay. So that's the Haleakala silver sword. Habitat is really important for these birds, and this is a native plant that's endangered. We're up on the slopes of Haleakala, 3,000 meters. This video probably 2,300 meters. And these birds have come from out to sea all the way up there to bring food to their chicks and raise them. They both adults to raise the chicks, and they make these really cool sounds all the way up there. So
Do you want
that
video
is,
Jay?
I got back to here on Yanni's screen. Sorry, we got that. Can you still see me in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
This is the bird. This is the Hawaiian petrel, the uwa'u. It's an endangered bird. Might be able to see the two pukas for the nares where it gets rid of the salt. And unlike the uwa'u honey, its feet are black, pink legs and tipped in black. These birds are just now going out to sea on their pre-laying exodus after breeding, and they're going to come back next month and lay their eggs. The female bird comes back, she lays the egg, and the male jumps on top right away. It takes both parents to incubate that egg. She has to go out and eat because you know why? It's so much energy to build that egg that she's going to lay. That egg, think about this if you were having a baby, that egg is 18% of her body weight. That means like a human being, if you are a woman who's 100 pounds, your baby would weigh 18 pounds. So this bird needs to get right back out to sea and eat, so she can come back and take her turn helping to raise that, incubate the chick egg and then raise the chick. And you can hear more clearly from the soft cuddly version of the uwa'u. And these are the birds that we work to try and save. And the things that we need to do are trap predators out there, and some of the worst ones are cats. So really, really, really important. If you can keep your cat indoors or keep it on a leash when it's outside. Another thing that happens with these birds is if chicks are leaving their nest, they get distracted by our lights, especially the lights that have a lot of short wavelength in them, the blue color kind of light. So you want your lights to be warm colored and turn them off at night. That would be the best thing. And then these chicks can go out to sea. The food that they eat is bioluminescent and it's short wavelength light. So they might get confused by your light thinking, oh, this is food. But when they get near it, then it just drives them crazy. They go round and round until they drop on the ground. And then the cats get them, or the dogs, or they get run over by a car. So very important things. Control your cats and control your lights. And that will help seabirds an awful lot. Mahalo.
Thanks. James, do you want me to play the video again so everyone can hear the birds, since I cut it a little short?
All right, sure, you can do that. That would be good.
All right. Do you guys see it, Flavian?
Yeah, we can see it. You just have to maximize. Here we go. Perfect.
Yeah. So this, I see the question that this, wondering, what is this bird? This is, in Hawaiian, it's the uwa'u. And that's the sound that they make. If you could hear that in there. It's also called the Hawaiian petrel. They are an endangered bird, and we are working hard to bring them back. The only place they live in the world is on Hawaii.
Oh, I was on mute. Awesome. Mahalo, Jay. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And now we are going to Carrie. And Yenny, I think you're controlling the presentation, so you want to put it on. And Carrie is going to talk a little bit about what's happening in Sunrise, our neighbors here in Florida.
Yeah, so from Hawaii back to Florida, it's great. I learned a lot so far, and I hate following those other presentations with those images, but I will do my best. I really like the bird that I'm going to talk about. So the city of Sunrise is here in Broward County, which is north of Miami-Dade County. Sunrise is a community wildlife habitat certified. So we do a lot through our sustainability action plan implementation and with the help of our sustainability advisory board and community members to build habitats throughout the city. One interesting thing, the thing that I'm going to talk about today is a partnership that we started in 2019 with Project Perch. You can learn more because I'm going to go through this really quickly and only give high level stuff. But you can go to sunrisefl.gov/green and you can click on our burrowing owl page to learn more. Next slide. So this is a picture of a Florida burrowing owl. They live in burrows in the ground. If you're in South Florida, you're probably familiar with this species, I hope. Next slide. So they are an imperiled species, a threatened species here in Florida. So you do have to take proper protections like roping off, making a barrier and adding signage when you do know that there is an active owl burrow on site. This is a picture at our Spring Tree facility. Next slide. I'm going to show you one. They actually get into our maintenance building there. This is a cool photo that I got. So we have a natural burrow at a couple of our water and wastewater treatment plants. And if you have a natural burrow, you can just put the barrier around it. If it's going to be mowed over or walked over or driven over in some way, you want to put that protective barrier around it. So that's what we do there, and then just put up some signage. Next slide. But we also have the burrowing owls that have shown up in our parks. And these owls are actually on one of our recreation fields at one of our parks. This is kind of what we don't want, because recreation fields are used for recreation and we want to play sports on that. So we had to come up with a way as a win-win for the community that we could live with this species and create a habitat. And that's when we found Project Perch. And they actually have an artificial burrow that we're able to put in. If you go to the next slide, I think I might have a picture of one. I know I have a picture of one in the slide somewhere. So there's an artificial burrow. That's what those are volunteers there. The green PVC pipe is about 3 feet long, and that's a water meter bucket at the end. This is like a cool renovated condo for the owls, if you could imagine it. They get this nice upgraded facility, and we put these artificial burrows within sight of the natural burrows and try to get those birds that hopefully will entice them to move to the artificial areas, which are off the recreation fields and in a safer area where they're not going to be harassed by mowing or anything like that. And we do use community volunteers to install these. It's really cheap. These artificial burrows are put together by Project Perch. We did supply that's actually sewer pipe from our utility and an irrigation bucket that we supplied. And these volunteers, when they come out, they get to install the burrow, they learn from Project Perch, and then they kind of become our owl guardians, because these are residents that use our parks. So they also are calling me or emailing me if they're seeing anything going wrong with the burrow areas. Next slide. And then we're also not only talking with the volunteers, but we're also training our employees. So we actually held a training with Project Perch. They came out so that staff who work in the field, so we're talking public works staff, park staff, utility staff, anyone that's going to be outside, they came and got to learn what a burrow might look like, so what they're looking for, and how to tell us where it is. And then the staff actually went out to a burrow that we had and learned how to maintain the burrow too. So there's some certain things that we do to keep that, especially the artificial areas, nice and enticing, to keep those birds on the artificial habitat rather than digging in our fields. Next slide. And then with that, we educate the community as well. So the next picture is actually us at one of our events with Project Perch, with the artificial burrow. Residents were able to sign the burrow that we're putting in. We're hoping to do a live webcam at one of our burrows. And the key thing here, and you've heard this already, plant native plants, native to your area is what that means. So reach out to local organizations, South Florida, Audubon, Naturescape Broward. You can reach out to us and we'll let you give you lists of native plants, and use less pesticides. So these birds and the different animals, they're gonna eat the insects, and those insects are gonna be attracted to those native plants. So those are key when doing that. And next slide, I think, is just the website for Project Perch. So if you want to know more, if you want to partner locally, if you see any issues with owls or anything, you can contact them, and they are really a fantastic resource. They've been a great partner, and we're really excited to be providing this habitat. So that's it for me, and can't wait to hear your questions, and then hopefully we all visit Hawaii after this, because all these presentations with all the pictures of Hawaii is like, I can't wait until we can travel.
Thank you so much, Carrie. That was awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, and now it's the time you guys been waiting for. It's Kahoot time. And Yenny, I wonder, you want to try sharing your screen? We see how it looks, and if it's we're still having tech issues, I can share mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot now. Give me a second.
All right, guys, prepare your cell phones. You're going to be logging into kahoot.it. And I'm going to post here for everyone as Yenny starts sharing her screen, kahoot.it. And then we'll give you the numbers for you to log in and play Kahoot with us. All right. You want me to share, Yenny? Oh, and here there is a question for you. Oh, right, we'll do after. All right, so guys, see in there. All right, Yenny, it's on you. You're on it.
Yeah, do you see it though? Is it clear? Or do you want to give it a shot?
It's good.
Okay, awesome. So log into the URL you see up here and use the pin. And we'll give everyone a minute to log on.
All right. The time Les has been waiting for. Yeah. Go Les.
I didn't know Les was here this time. I thought maybe he skipped this one, but I'm happy he's here.
Let's see if he's getting top 5 today. Top 3, Les. Come on. Top 3. Beautiful bird.
It wasn't doubt.
No, we never did. Definitely not. We just promoted you. We believe in you. I know, Carrie. There's always so many good nicknames. Oh, look at you, Michelle. You are the one. And
I
guys,
think we have a good number of people. Well, no, we're still getting more. So for those of you doing this for the first time, points are based off how fast you answer and whether you get the correct answer. And we have a total of, I think, 6 questions. All right, I think we're going to get started. We have a good number of people. I know they're still coming in. All right, let's start. Oh, the music stopped. Oh, there it goes. Name one of these 3 critically endangered forest bird species on Kauai. One of the 3. I think I may have phrased that question incorrectly. It was actually all of them, so it was a trick question. Sorry about that. All right, next one. I think that's Michelle, right?
Yeah, that's Michelle.
Yeah. Which one of these species is not a honey creeper? Awesome. All right, most of you got it. All right, next one. We have beautiful birds. What is the name of the group of birds found only in Hawaii? All right, next one. Oops. Omao. What kind of birds cannot be found at the Pelican Harbor Seabird Station? Awesome, good job. No, there's definitely owls. We saw one earlier. Okay. Tati, I think you're going for like number 3, I guess. You win number 3. What is one of the most common threats to pelicans? Tati's on the top, and I think this is the last one. What is something you can do to help birds in your backyard? Okay, so now we have beautiful birds, number 3. And now number 4. And Tati, number 1 to that.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us again. I know we are out of time. Our amazing panelists, if you guys have any burning questions, please do it right now and send to the Q&A so we can answer to you guys before they leave. Otherwise, we're going to start wrapping up. As usual, I would like to And Sustainachella send you much love and gratitude. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I would like to thank all the amazing panelists for all their hard work and dedication in their presentations. So thank you very much. Let's see, Sarah and Basil. Is Basil around there, Sarah? And you guys can unmute yourself, guys. This is like a party. You guys can talk.
Yeah, I've got Basil right here. She's taking a nap, as always.
Oh, good. I want to take Basil home.
Y'all's presentations were amazing. Thank you so much. I learned a ton.
Awesome. And yours was amazing too, Sarah. We love the live tour. I'm sure everybody wants to go to Pelican Harbor right now. So
Yeah, it was awesome seeing it.
Yeah. Balloons. Crazy.
Great job, everyone. That was just a fly on the wall, but good job answering questions.
oh, that's Nikki. Nikki's also with Pelican Harbor, guys. Thanks so much for joining us, Kiki. Thank you.
So there's a question in the chat about rapid ohia deaths affecting the forest birds in Hawaii. I can just comment on Kauai. So far we've managed, so rapid ohia death is a fungus that started attacking trees on the Big Island and causing widespread mortality of the ohia tree, which is the dominant tree used by the forest birds. They feed on its nectar, they all nest in it, and it is turned up in the Big Island and has caused widespread mortality, like thousands of acres of trees dead. We have some here on Kauai. Luckily, it has been restricted to lower elevation forests that are not dominated by ohia, just occasionally ohia here and there. And so far, we've managed to keep it out of the area where the ohia proliferate and are dominant and where the birds are. So far, no big impacts, but we're really watching that carefully. I don't know how you're feeling about it on Maui, Laura?
Right now on Maui, there was only one infected tree found. It's definitely a concern, and we do a lot of prevention with decontaminating materials with isopropyl alcohol to prevent it. So far it's okay, but it's definitely a concern, and we try not to move ohia, import any ohia from the other islands, have different gear at different sites, don't use gear between islands, things like that.
I mean, the same kind of sanitation we all as people are taking to prevent spread of COVID is what we need to do to prevent spread of rapid ohia in the forest, because it's very easily windborne since it's a fungus. So we have to be very diligent.
Yeah, and Alice just made a comment about if you go between the islands, alcohol spray your boots, that's for sure. Yeah, you definitely want to scrub them off. Don't carry any mud that potentially has seeds or even the spores from the fungus too. So great comment.
All right.
There was a question also about the silver sword and whether it illuminates. And it actually doesn't light up by itself, but if you're out at night and the moon is shining, it might appear to be illuminated because it's so reflective. It's a pale green, very shiny leaf that reflects light from the stars and the moon as well. So it might appear to be illuminated, but it's not really.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. And I don't know if you guys see any more questions there. Well, I'd like to thank you all. Thank you so much, Laura, Kali, Helen, Jay, Sarah, Kiki, Carrie, Nikki, Julia. Am I missing anyone? So many folks. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for all your hard work and your dedication. The presentations were amazing. We are going to have the recording available probably on Monday on our website. So other folks that couldn't join today can watch the recording. And yeah, I would also like to thank Yanni for all her work and also saving us from all the technical issues. And also Michelle, I know Harper's there, Liz, Margarita, all the folks that always join us, our sustainability committee members that join us today. So thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate everyone joining and ending up with sending you guys lots of love and gratitude. And have a great weekend. Happy
It was
Friday.
wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, thanks so much, Flavia and Yanira. That was really awesome putting this together for all of us.
Awesome. No, we had fun.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was awesome. We
Me
have to
too.
go.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a
Happy
lot.
Happy Aloha.
Bye.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Bye, everyone.
Everyone.
Ahuyo.
Bye.
Bye.
Good job.